Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you all are doing great today. In today's video we are moving away from the Christina Aguilera series and now I'm going to move on to the Evanescence series. So Evanescence is probably one of my favourite bands out there. I love the gothic vibe that they have and I love Amy Lee's voice, her song lyrics. Amy Lee is probably one of the best songwriters out there that really connects to my soul. I've never had as much of a connection to a song lyric than I do with Evanescence. And to the point where I've actually cried to some of her songs. And it takes me a lot to cry. It just does. So that's saying something. So I personally have two albums of Evanescence, but one of them is a greatest hits album that has about 40 songs. So obviously there'll be like probably 4 or in between 4 to 10 songs from each album that she's done until she did the greatest hits album. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the albums physically to you, but then also describe what songs are in what album and then say which ones are my favourites. So in this one I'm going to do the Secret Door album. It's this album. So this is the only like non-official greatest hits album that I've got. So I'll react to this first. I'll list all the songs and I'll say which ones are my favourites, but then I'll basically do the same with the greatest hits, but I'll state the songs that are in all of her other albums and then I'll say which ones are my favourites. So, there's 13 songs altogether, and from this album I do have 7 favourite songs, but this album and Evanescence overall is one of them bands that I can listen to a full album, no problem. So I'm going to state the songs, and I'm also going to state my favourites. So the first one is Sweet Sacrifice, then Call Me When You're Sober, then Weight of the World, then Lithium, then Cloudnine, Ice Queen, Lacy Morrissa. I probably said that wrong, but it's a popular opera song. Like You, Lose Control, The Only One, Your Star, All That I'm Living For, and Good Enough. So, my 2 first favourites are actually the 2 first songs, which is Sweet Sacrifice and Call Me When You're Sober. So, Sweet Sacrifice I'll do first. There's a really good sound to Sweet Sacrifice. I think she does a very long note kind of near the end on it, which I think is impressive, and she carries on doing it. But I would say it's the riff and the beat in this song that makes it so good. Like, I would argue that it's the heaviest song on the album, so I really like the sound of the grunginess of it. But the music video is really cool as well. Basically, she's wearing like a long red dress. She's got like pale skin, she's got long black hair, and she's wearing like some kind of pinky red eyeshadow that almost looks like blood. By the way that they like film it, and there's like loads of symbols coming up on the screen and it looks dead horror like, and that's what I like about it. It looks very gothic and horror-y and it just looks so good, and the song is good itself. And the lyrics are basically talking about that fear is only in our minds and it's a life experience that we've created, which I find fascinating. Next is Call Me When You're Sober. I think for this one, it's more the lyrics and also, again, her vocal ability. She does a lot of, like, long-lasting belts to this. But also, the music video... Sorry. The music video to this is cool. She's kind of dressed like Little Red Riding Hood. in a way, and I think that's probably what I like about the music video. Call Me When You're Sober is basically talking about, I'm assuming, a past relationship that she was in, that he was a drunkie, and he would only want to hang out with her if he, when he's drunk, but then when he's sober, he doesn't want anything to do with her. So in the video and in the lyrics, she's basically taking that power back and basically saying, screw you, if you want me, call me when you're sober. And that's what the whole song's about, which I think is a really cool message. But the beat is also good. It's quite rocky, but it's got more of a, I would say, compared to Sweet Sacrifice, it's got more of a classical sound to it. So, yeah, good song. So, this next one is Cloud9. This is one of my favourites. This one is more so the beat and the sound. So, this one is arguably also probably the second heaviest, in my opinion, on the album. So, the beat is really, like, heavy. But the sound is really spooky. It really sounds like something from a horror movie, and that's something that I really like. Amy Lee is known for harmonising with herself, and when people harmonise with their own voice, people get accused that do that to using auto-tune. And she might use an auto-filter to kind of slightly clean up in certain parts of her albums, but that's to give it more of a spooky vibe than to polish anything up. But whenever she uses harmonising with oneself, it obviously adds to the whole spookiness of what is the Evanescence band, which is a goth rock band. So, the lyrics is still good, but it is more the spooky sound. It has a lot of, like, almost like ghost sounds in there, and it is the infectious heavy beat that really does give it that favourite for me. So, this next one is the one that I can't pronounce. The lacy, morrissa, something like that. I know it's a popular song. It's a popular classic song. So they turned it into a classic rock song. Made it really, like, gossipily. Like, there was loads of symphonies and orchestras in the background. So obviously that gives it itself a spooky sound just within itself. I think the lyrics in this is also good. So I think the lyrics, personally, I think I can really relate to it. Feeling like sometimes you want to hide from the world, but then sometimes when you're accused of doing something wrong, you complain that they're blaming it all on me when it's not actually your fault. I personally can relate to that. So, I think this one is one of the ones is where it's the lyrics, the beat, the sound, that is all good. So, yeah, that's why it's one of my favourites. So, this next one is called Lose Control. So, I will admit that this one is probably, out of all of the favourites, the one that I probably listen to the least most. But I still count it as one of my favourites because the beat is good, but the sound and the lyrics is what really gets me with this. So something that I often like about Evanescence and Korn, the band, is that they'll do songs that play with kind of nursery rhymes, and it gives it more of a spooky feel. Like, Evanescence always has a sound of spookiness, and then Korn always has a sound of creepiness, and I think spookiness and creepiness are, like, very similar. So both of them will, like, play around with nursery rhymes and turn it into, like, a spooky song or a creepy song. And this song, Lose Control, is about different nursery rhymes. Like, Mary Had a Little Lamb, that one's one of the most ones. So it's nice to hear, obviously, a nostalgia of your childhood, but then to invert it into a spooky and a creepy song, which Evanescence does with this. So it is the lyrics with this because of that reason. But also, it sounds very spooky. Like, there's a lot of, like, spooky sounds coming from the song. So it gives it that extra spooky feeling. My next one is Your Star. So, this one is quite funny. But the reason why it's my favourite is because I think the way that Evanescence and Amy Lee composed this is, like, so spot on when it comes to equal amount of, like, rock sound, classic sound, and then spooky sounds. Like, I think all of the songs that they do is like that, but most of them will be like, there'll be like one that has more of a classical, some will have more of a spooky sound, some of them will have more of a rock sound. But I think this one on the album is an equal amount of all of the three sounds, and I think it works really well. So with this one, it is more of the sound than the lyrics and the vocal ability. I mean, I do think that obviously with pretty much Amy Lee songs, she's going to sing it really well and she's going to show her vocal ability. But with this particular song, it is the sound more so, because it has this equal battle of the rock sound, the classical sound, and the spooky kind of orchestra and sound to it. The next one is Good Enough. So this one is one of the ones that I mentioned in this video that actually made me cry. That one and Hello from her Fallen album, which I will react to in this next one when I show the greatest hits, and I'll say which one's from the Fallen album. Them two, without a doubt, made me cry when I first listened to them, because it's so very similar to how I felt or how I used to feel. And Good Enough is basically talking about how you felt that you weren't good enough for a certain thing or for a certain someone, but now you look at your past and think to yourself, I actually am good enough now, and I'm going to sing about it. And that's what the song's about. It's very slow, and she shows, I would say, slightly more of a vocal ability on there. She does a lot more longer sounds, which I obviously really appreciate. But it is the slow beat to this, so it's the beat, the fact that it's slow and it's emotional, but then it's also the song lyrics that always gets to me. I actually performed this for my FMP when I did dance at college, because it got to me so much, and I kind of related it to, like, the Raven and the Swan story. Well, here you go, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I definitely did. I'm really looking forward to this one, because Evanescence is one of them that I don't think I hate any album, and I think I pretty much listened to all of them, to the point where I've, like, watched demo albums and demo tracks that they've released, and a lot of the demo tracks are actually really good. Like, Evanescence's demo tracks sometimes can be better than the original. Like, Tourniquet and Hello was a lot more emotional than the original ones. So, yeah, definitely a fan and definitely looking forward to it. If you enjoyed this video, obviously give it a like and subscribe down below. I'll link my Twitter socials down below as well, and my other YouTube channel where I talk about politics or my experience as a gay guy that I think is actually detrimental to the community and to the outside community of us. So yeah, if you're interested in that, obviously I'll link that down below, and love you guys.